Good evening and welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ+ daily evening television news. We're broadcasting live and then available on demand. And we're available on all smart televisions, including Roku, Apple Television, Android TV, Amazon Fire TV, and of course YouTube and Facebook. It's time to queer up the news. It's Wednesday, February 8th, 2023, and we're live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we're going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ evening news show, literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight with Ferguson.
I'm your anchor at Queer News Tonight, Ferguson, and this evening we bring you the news of and a perspective representing the LGBTQ+ community from South Florida, America, and across our planet.
This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ+ evening news show. Whatever happens unique in LGBTQ+ news, you will see it and hear it.
Happening Out Television Network is a 501c3 nonprofit media platform in the television and radio models of PBS and NPR, but designed for our LGBTQ+ community.
We are part of one of the largest LGBTQ+ media companies in America, Hotspots Magazine and Happening Out Television Network.
Our magazine is celebrating 38 years of the LGBTQ+ experience, and our television news, talk, and entertainment shows support our mission to educate the LGBTQ+ and broader community.
Well, let's welcome anchor Fay What. She's a radio and television personality and has a popular blog and YouTube channel aiming to unite the L and the G together. She's a hostess and MC for many South Florida events, an animal advocate, and owner of Fay's Fur Family. Also, make sure to catch the Fay What Show, the first morning LGBTQ+ show, Mondays at 9 a.m. Eastern online, or of course your smart television. And by the way, Fay was named the winner of the 2022 SFGN Best Local Television Personality. Welcome, Fay.
Hi, everyone. I'm super happy today. That's it. All right. And happy to be here at the table with all you boys, even you, Bobby. Next up, let's welcome John Hayden. He's a journalist for 28 years, and he now works for several outlets, including South Florida Gay News, as a reporter and community editor, covering politics, entertainment, and local events directly impacting the LGBTQ+ community. John's interviewed everyone, from presidents to Oscar winners, and been on more red carpets than me. After attending the 2 galas this past weekend, he is now girding his loins for Pride on the Drive with Thunderpuss, Pride of the Americas Parade, and Party on Saturday, and Super Bowl parties on Sunday. And hey, who doesn't love a good loin girding? I don't think I do. I don't know. What's a loin girding? Tell me if I like it or not.
Al and I will be girding together at Pride on the Drive on Friday. So
is that something that you do with others, Al? You gird?
Yeah, I'm gonna right after this show. I'm gonna in Wikipedia. I'm gonna look it up, find out what I got myself into.
Urban Dictionary is gonna be much more fun.
That's okay.
Hashtag let's gird.
We gird on. I mean, we move on, and we welcome anchor Dr. Bobby Huen. Bobby is a certified civil and family mediator. As the founder and principal mediator at BH Conflict Resolution Services, he helps families, businesses, and individuals resolve disputes of all types. Having grown up everywhere from Hong Kong to Boston, Bobby is proud to offer a global perspective to current events. When he's not at the office or here at the studio, Bobby enjoys gaming, Lego building, and hanging out on the drive. What up, Bobby?
Hey, John, how are you doing?
Fabulous.
Fantastic. And so let's welcome David Hopkins. David is an officer for the Lambda Men's Brotherhood, a local charity group that raises funds within the leather community. Over the last 17 years, they have raised over $250,000 for the South Florida LGBTQ+ community. Now they are raising funds for the Lambda History Series, a free LGBTQ+ history curriculum for parents, educators, and students. Welcome, David.
Howdy, welcome. Not in addition to working here at Happening Out Television and also charity, you can also catch me Thursday through Saturday now at the Ramrod as I'm your bar back.
I was going to make a joke about the back room, but no,
it's the whole bar.
Or the
There's
pool
no back room. We are the reporters for Queer News Tonight, and this evening we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ+ community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community across the world is vast, and here are the bullet points of the queer news for today, Wednesday, February 8th, 2023.
Well, let's begin by queering up politics. The GOP makes history introducing more than 120 anti-LGBTQ+ bills so far in 2023. Republican legislators have introduced a record number of anti-LGBTQ+ legislation in Congress and state houses across America only 1 month into the new year. Advocates say they're not surprised and see this as a continuation of increasing anti-trans rhetoric that has gained momentum across the political spectrum, especially with the Republican base. The American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU, tracked over 120 anti-LGBTQ+ bills that have already been filed in January. This includes more than 24 bills targeting across medically necessary health care for transgender people across 11 states, most of which are located in the South. According to Victoria Kirby York, the National Black Justice Coalition's Director of Public Policy and Programs, these laws will disproportionately impact the Black trans community. Bills proposed this year in South Carolina and Virginia bar state health care providers from recommending or administering puberty blockers, hormones, or gender-affirming surgeries to patients younger than 21. In Oklahoma, legislators went so far as to introduce a bill that bans gender-affirming care and gender transition procedure coverage for trans adults under the age of 26, known as the Millstone Act, whose name is directly derived from a Bible verse about punishing adults who harm children. The bill is a direct nod to Christian nationalist ideology. You know, one of the interesting things to me is the ACLU monitors this record of 120 anti-LGBT bills in just the first month of the year. Mm-hmm. And one of the big cohorts that are together is anti-LGBT in communities around the nation that have traditionally been anti-Black, anti-Latino, anti-women in terms of healthcare decisions for your own body, and the cohort that intersects with all of those things frequently in its hardest versions are states in the South. It is the same radical conservative point of view, and it's what we are facing, and the ACLU helps put a fine point of what they're watching. And this is it's an indication to me that it is how the LGBTQ community intersects with Black and brown communities and women, in that we are all in this together. Because these regions of the country, you can add Idaho into it, you can add maybe Utah into it, we have a common foe that is trying to manage us, marginalize us, get into our bed with us, and basically run and live our lives under this broad definition of protecting children and protecting political and parental rights, all of which is gaslighting, principally in the South.
Wow. And how many bills did we have last year? We had over 300, right?
For the whole year.
Not that they passed, but it was like about 300 for the whole year. Yeah. And we were telling stories about, oh my God, these are so many bills that they're trying to take away all our rights, blah, blah, blah. And look at us in the beginning of February.
Yeah.
And we've already have more than
half. See, this is going to backfire on the GOP, I believe. Polls, even amongst Republicans, have shown that most people don't care about transgender issues. There is a very vocal minority that's very loud about this. And politicians are pandering to it because it makes good media. Most people don't care. You know, Tucker Carlson, Laura Ingraham, they care. Most people, unless they know somebody transgender or have interactions, don't really care other than, oh, it's ratings. And voters are starting to show that. And I think that's why the midterms were not as good for the Republicans as they expected.
But on the other hand, the quote-unquote save the children rhetoric has been used again and again and again to marginalize the LGBTQ plus community.
That's just a red herring, though.
It is a red herring, but it is a very effective red herring because, if you ask the electorate, if you ask common people on the street, oh, do you want to protect children? Of course they're going to protect children. So they word the bills to make it so look like it is a generic protect the children bill when it comes, but it is really in effect stripping away our civil rights in order to quote. And plus, those two bills, for example, 21 years old is it's way beyond legal adult. 26 years old is way beyond.
Can you imagine?
And we're going to have a generation of students who are going to know they're being minimalized and forced into the closet. Yep. When I was a kid, I knew there was something different about me, but I didn't know. Now it's all across the headlines, and it's going to hurt. And who are the main victims of crime and suicide in our community?
Black and brown trans women.
Black or people of color women. That's who this is going to hurt. And 10 years from now, we're going to be sitting here and probably doing the first real data that comes in from this period and going, this was a murderous disaster.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we move on and we queer up South Florida gay news. After years of pandemic delays, crises, and scandal, Pride of the Americas is finally here.
How do you say pride? Join us February 10th through 12th for Pride of the Americas. With musical guest Boy George. For tickets and info, visit prideoftheamericas.org.
In this week's SFGN, online now and on stands tomorrow, I have a look at this weekend's events. Friday is Pride on the Drive in Wilton Manors, featuring the long-awaited reunion of Thunderpuss. Saturday is the parade at noon and a party at Las Olas Intercoastal Promenade Park, with Happening Out's own Kitty Meow working the stage, along with our own FayWhat, who just was announced. So you know the stage is going to be rocking all day until they turn it over to Boy George at night. Sunday is the Splash Pool Party Tea Dance at Rock Bar Day Club. I also have my interview with Flockfest founder Stephen Crawford. He joined Pride's board as vice president in order to explore merging the two organizations. It quickly became clear they are not a match. Crawford talks about Pride President Mike Martorell's leadership, the impact SFGN's investigation into Pride has had on sponsors, and his hopes for the weekend. Crawford is committed to Pride of the Americas happening. Several times he told me, quote, "This event has to happen for our community," end quote. With that in mind, he's staying until after the event. However, Flockfest's other representative on the board, Emmanuel Santos, did resign late last week. Crawford's commitment to the event is steadfast, if a bit scaled back. He said he wanted Pride of the Americas to be a success. When I asked him what constitutes success at this point, he said, quote, "The fact that it's happening makes me feel like it's successful," end quote. And you can read more of my interview in this week's SFGN online now and on stands tomorrow. And, you know, his interview was very revealing because it is a very pointed insight into the workings of what's been going on at Pride over roughly the past year or so. So I really enjoyed talking with him and getting his perspective. And yeah.
And was he optimistic?
He believes this event is going to happen.
And that's his optimism. We're having it, and that's it.
But that is the optimism. You know, there's been, Santos's resignation is just the latest in a series. You know, there's going to be a new executive director that's needed, several board members. I think, like, after this event and Crawford officially leaves, I think there's only going to be like 6 or 7 board members and directors left with the organization, which means from a leadership perspective, they're going to have to fill a lot of spots and make up a lot of lost experience.
John, in all of the interviewing investigation that you've done on this story about Pride of America in transition, first, has there been any conversation, is it too early, any conversation on what will happen for Pride Fort Lauderdale? So Pride of Americas will finish. Likely we're never going to do a Pride of Americas again, I'm guessing. That's a pure guess on my part. But Pride Fort Lauderdale will return in 2024. Any conversation that you hear about that?
None that anybody wants to go on the record about. People are leaving. Stephen did tell me that he plans to leave because he said, quote, "We were in it for the merger. After that, we're out."
Yeah.
So,
but it's probably best that they found all this out now before they were more invested. I mean, this is being invested. Okay, This is Pride of the Americas. And at the end of the day, we have to commit to our community. So our community is going to make this happen. Our community is going to support all weekend long. Yep. And then come Monday, they're going to go, peace.
Yeah, we're done. And the other thing that's I'm curious, we've talked a lot of different aspects of what's going on in Pride of Americas. I agree with Crawford's observation. It's important for our community, and we want it to be a success. And so Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, let's make the thing a success. Everyone turn out. We need to turn out for Pride of Americas. But one thing that I'm curious about, it relates to you. You've been front and center for now 2 good months in terms of the exploration of what is actually behind the scenes going on. You don't create the news, you tell the news via investigation. What kind of impact has this had on you personally?
A lot of people, professionally, it's gratifying because I truly believe this is a story that matters to our community. A successful Pride is important, but any organization that has transparency issues, donor issues, sponsorship issues, and there were sponsorship issues before Midland Can pulled out and Tito's Vodka pulled out. The donors were just down by about 50%, some people have said. For me personally, I am glad that I'm able to do something in the community where I can make an impact, and people can, if we have to start rebuilding Pride from the ground up, we can do that, and hopefully the foundation of what Pride represents will be solid enough that an organization can still rise from those ashes.
And
but I'm so sorry.
Go.
And but we've come so far. Just a month ago, we were sitting at the same table going, Pride of the Americas, is it going to happen? And here we are a couple of days from now, it will happen. That right there is a success.
Yeah, it is a success.
I think it's great that you can pull a rabbit out of the hat, but what it sounds like what the board needs is someone who is an expert in dispute resolution. Call me. Anyways, shameless plug. I'm just going to plug it. But I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully Boy George would appear. And
Oh, wait.
Is Boy George going to be there? Listen, when I agreed to help with the parade, I'm like, is Boy George going to be there? Okay, I'll be there.
I don't know if he'll be at the parade necessarily.
He'll be
in his executive suite, but yeah, he's supposed to be there.
Come, chameleon. Everybody. We come and go. We come and go. Yeah.
It's not from the Americas.
I don't know what's happening.
All right, we'll see you all this weekend at Pride of the Americas. Next up, let's queer up health. My girl, Martha Stewart, whips her sword out to talk about Pfizer COVID booster.
You know that unwelcome guest everyone wishes would just leave already? That's COVID-19. That's why I got the new updated booster, designed to help protect against recent Omicron variants. Got it?
Pfizer's new COVID-19 booster ad starring Martha Stewart is both rather odd and strangely compelling to watch in a definitive departure from its previous conservative vaccine commercials. The 30-second spot, Unwelcome Guest, features Stewart in her beautifully perfect kitchen, calmly sharpening a massive samurai sword. As sparks fly, she says, quote, "You know that unwelcome guest everyone wishes would leave already? That's COVID-19, end quote. The ad discusses how the updated Pfizer shot protects against the so-called Omicron variant. Martha then effortlessly lops the top off a poor unsuspecting pineapple and drops it in the garbage, slipping her shirt down her shoulder, flashing a blue bandage, and asks in her best thirst trap voice, "Got it?" The whole vibe of the spot is Kill Bill meets Top Shelf. Stewart is both charming and vaguely menacing throughout. The direction is clean and beautiful, so all these disparate themes somehow work, at least entertainment-wise. The goal of the spot is to motivate the viewer to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's vaccine.gov site. Pfizer was a big name during the pandemic with its COVID-19 vaccine and the antiviral Paxlovid, and clearly hopes to continue that success. Now, can I just say that Martha Stewart looks amazing, and she's 81 years old, so all that pot smoking and hanging out with Snoop Dogg is working.
wait, she's 81?
81, pa que lo sepa. And look at that skin, immaculate. She looks incredible.
It's very unnatural, and she's made a deal with the devil.
She obviously has. She is sucking on some kind of snake blood or something. Like when she put her top down, I almost wanted to see the rest. You know what I mean?
I mean, I have to say though, Martha is always really good with her comedy. Like, she is actually funny.
She had good timing.
Like, she has good timing. I remember.
She's in on the joke.
Yeah,
If you ever watched the show with her and Snoop Dogg, it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my entire life.
I remember like watching her roast Justin Bieber in one of the Comedy Central roasts. She delivered.
Yeah, and it gave her street cred.
Yeah.
As it is to say, prison gave her street cred.
You're far too white to say that.
That's exactly what I was thinking. It's like, ooh, that rings unnaturally on my ears.
But most medical, and because of FDA requirements, most medical commercials are very boring. Two people throwing a baseball somehow means that they don't have a lot of A1C or something like that. But this commercial hits home. It hits an older audience that still might be resisting in middle America to get the vaccine. So hopefully this is going to make an impact while also making a smile.
I'm curious for everybody. The point of the commercial, we're helping Care Resource in this next 4 months. They have been challenged by the Department of Health to get out the COVID booster message, and Hotspots Happening Out will help Care Resource and do that. The point of the message and the cuteness of Martha Stewart doing this with a samurai sword, but to its message itself, are we motivated on the booster? Do you think LGBTQ community is interested in COVID anymore, the booster anymore?
I think we've moved on. Well, I think we've moved on. Like, for a while, it was get vaccinated, get vaccinated. Everybody, my friends at this table, I know we've all been vaccinated and triple vaxxed, and here we are. That vaccine already wore out. That was supposed to be like every 5 months or something like that. So here we are, where everybody's getting sick again, and now people are counting 4 times getting COVID, 5 times getting COVID. So I think it's important to get that message back out, especially for the people who have underlying conditions.
Are we worried on the fact that that you contract COVID, and the greater the distance you have from immunity or the buildup from the booster, that the greater the time goes, the increased risk of the ramifications, even to the potential of death?
That's how the flu shot works. And I work in events and I work in bars. I have the boosters. I've still caught COVID twice. The manager of Ramrod passed away last summer, Kevin, from COVID. Wow. Everyone at the bar is vaccinated. But when you're in contact with that many people, the vaccine isn't a bubble. It just makes it tolerable. When I've had COVID after having the vaccines, it's 1 day of not feeling good, and then I'm pretty much better after that. Beforehand, I had them up for a month. I was out of work because I had fevers and fatigue for a full month because I got COVID very early on after one of our hosts of It's Happening Out passed away. And so I've seen firsthand the difference between not vaccinated and vaccinated. Definitely worth the vaccine.
Right.
Well, next up, we're going to queer up education. The Show Me State makes Florida by making Don't Say Gay even worse. Lawmakers in Missouri are considering a Republican-proposed bill that would ban the discussion of gender identity or sexual orientation at all ages and grade levels. Tuesday morning, Missouri Senate's Education Workforce Development Committee held a hearing at which the bill was to be discussed. Any public or charter school staff member would be prohibited from discussing gender identity or sexual orientation unless they are a mental health professional and have parental consent if the bill passes. The Missouri bill is more restrictive than Florida's infamous Don't Say Gay law passed last year. Florida prohibits instruction on gender identity and sexual orientation from kindergarten through 3rd grade, but Missouri doesn't specify as a range. Critics argue that the broad bill would prohibit LGBTQ plus teachers from discussing their spouses due to the possibility that it might indicate their sexual orientation. In addition, it would prohibit teachers from teaching books that include LGBTQ plus characters or topics and forbid health classes from discussing sexual orientation or gender identity. Republican State Senator Mike Moon is unapologetic about the possible restrictions under the law. While speaking with the Kansas City Star, he said, quote, "Gender identity and sexual orientation conversations would be prohibited. If they think that would be included, then it likely will be," end quote. 2 things here. 1, of course, Phyllis Schlafly's home state is going to try to trump Anita Bryant's home state. And that's some queer history for you. Phyllis Schlafly, opposer of
and I have a pie for you, right?
Yeah. And Anita Bryant, obviously, infamously opposing LGBTQ rights in Florida. But secondly, That's the intention, right? I mean, the intention of these laws as designed is to drive out LGBTQ plus representation from all level of education. That means teachers too. They want to try to drum them out.
So you're basically saying that they're trying to push them out. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm going to force you to quit this.
Exactly.
I can't fire you for being gay,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to push you out.
Exactly. The vagueness of it is to make sure that the parents can sue anyone for basically having a gay teacher or teacher's aide or even a gay kid in the school.
But that door, theoretically, and hopefully a court would hear it, that door theoretically can swing both ways. If there is a book where a heterosexual couple is married, hopefully a gay couple will take the school district to court. I mean, the way that we're summarizing it, which is a pretty fair summary of the bill, it bans all discussion of sexual identity, which theoretically should also include heterosexual. That's an absolutely impossible bar to clear. So hopefully we're gonna get some open-minded judges that will say this is not going to work.
Yeah. It's going to be real hard to teach history because us gays have been there since the start, and we pop up all over the place from Alexander the Great, even in U.S. history. There's so many of us. Trying to pass over points of history doesn't work out well, as we're seeing here in Florida with the Stop Woke Act. It's already backfiring with the Black history and classes that are being fought. It's not a good thing. It's very Orwellian, and I hope it is.
Very Orwellian. Yeah.
But that's the intention, isn't it? They don't want people to teach accurate history. They want to stick to their Christian nationalist, white supremacist script.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing that I would say is I love our headline here as I read it. The Show Me State shows Florida. Clever alliteration. Because really that's at the heart of what we're watching. We report on the ACLU reporting record number of anti-LGBT laws in January nationally, largest ever. The majority of Americans do not agree with this. The majority of people in Missouri would not agree with this. This is either a radical small percentage or a moderate small percentage of people in Missouri or people in Florida that believe this. They try to get broader embracement by saying we're protecting your parental rights, but they're only doing that to gaslight. The majority of people do not agree with this. The majority of people agree and support the LGBTQ community, overwhelming in the 80th percentile. Marriage equality. So if, to John's point of going, well, how are you going to do this for straight people in the schools? You can't. And ultimately, this hasn't gone on long enough for those legal challenges to be set in place, but they are coming. We know that they're coming. And at the end of the day, majority of people certainly embrace the identification of Prince Charming and his princess. Well, it will be the exact same thing in gay. So at the end of the day, what we're watching is someone wants to be worse, greater than Ron DeSantis, and that becomes Bud Abbott in Texas, or it becomes this legislator in Missouri. They want to one-up themselves because they think that they've got a winning edge to win in their primaries of races. And the other thing that I think is very dangerous about these laws, I draw attention, not only the push out, which I think is a really great observation that y'all make, but we are already starting to see the teachers that are not to the point of being pushed out and say, okay, I'm not even going to risk it. They're beginning to self-censor themselves. So they're not only not putting up the stickers that says this is a safe space where you can confide in me, but they're removing books from their classrooms. They're censoring their own book bans because these laws are so broad that I don't know if this becomes legal under the state law or not. There's a whole cadre of laws. John made the comment about what we're going to come back to these days 10 years from now. The cadre of the effect is not only the possibility of bullying and suicide, etc., but the whole loss of an educational system where we have said we don't want you to critically think. And we're going to come back to this time period of 22, 23, 24. Why did America get stupider in this time period? And this is going to be
and this is why.
I think we started in 17.
Yeah.
Well, some more fun. We're going to queer up sports. The Super Bowl is more than Rihanna. Here are the most controversial Super Bowl ads ever. The Super Bowl 2023 is going to be more than Rihanna's performance. As NFL fans tune in to watch the Philadelphia Eagles face off against the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday, February 12th, viewers can also expect to see funny, memorable, and some controversial ads. As advertising during the big game becomes increasingly competitive and wildly expensive, companies are forced to come up with innovative ways to stand out from the crowd, even if that means pushing a few buttons. In 2015, Nationwide Insurance sparked outrage when it aired its boy commercial during the Super Bowl. The ad depicts a young boy describing milestones he'll never reach, which viewers come to learn is because he died in an accident.
Hey, wait! Guys, wait! I'll never learn to ride a bike. Or get cooties. I'll never learn to fly. Or travel the world with my best friend. And I won't ever get married. I couldn't grow up because I died from an accident.
At Nationwide, we believe in protecting what matters most. Your kids. Together, we can make safe happen.
The 2015 commercial by fast food chain Carl's Jr. showed Charlotte McKinney attracting stares from men while dressed in scantily clad clothing before taking a bite out of the all-natural burger. The ad received criticism for objectifying women.
I love going all natural. It just makes me feel better. Nothing between me and my 100% all natural, juicy, grass-fed beef.
Introducing the all-natural burger, the first ever in fast food, with no antibiotics, no added hormones, and no steroids. Only at Carl's Jr.
Even General Motors was subject of controversy in 2007 when its Super Bowl ad featured a line robot throwing itself off a bridge after being fired from the car manufacturer for failing to do its job. The ad was meant to show, quote, GM's commitment to quality, end quote, but received criticism from the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. There are many such examples. I love the commercials. This suicide robot, though, I was watching it earlier. We can't play the video because it's got that all by myself song, and that got blocked. Okay. But it's really sad to see this poor robot trying to do these jobs, and it can't, so it jumps off a bridge. I've been fans over the years of many. The Budweiser commercials with the dog and the horses always make me cry. There's some great commercials. There's some terrible ones. If I see another, like, what's the little blue dot for depression? They're so boring. I hate those. But yeah.
Well, see, I don't even know who's playing, and I don't really care, right? I usually just watch for halftime and for the commercials. But even that's been kind of taken away from me now, because now they let go of the commercials a week before, so now we all get to see them beforehand. So now why the hell do I have to watch this? You know what? I'll just record it. That's what I'll do. I'll fast forward to halftime and, you know.
$6 to $7 million
each
per
spot?
30-second spot.
What?
15 million a minute.
Yeah.
That's what they're getting.
And they're sold out. Fox sold this out about 10 days ago. They announced that all the ad inventory was gone. But they did save some space back. There will be a commercial for Fox host and Fox Nation host.
Oh, of course.
Greg Gutfeld.
Yeah.
He's going to be in there. So keep a barf bag handy and don't eat too much guacamole until after that ends.
I also know that Hobby Lobby's owner, has commissioned an ad about Jesus.
No, it's actually two ads. Yeah, there are two ads, and they're called "He Gets Us." And I don't know if you folks have seen the commercials. They pop up at the most inopportune times, and it's like, who the hell wants to see this crap?
Is Hobby Lobby associated with the ad?
They're the ones. They're the ones partially paid.
But you also have to realize this Super Bowl is like good versus evil. We were just talking about Missouri, and the Kansas City Chiefs are playing against the Kansas City, for those who don't know geography, is split between Missouri and Kansas, both states we don't want to go to. And then you've got the Philadelphia Eagles, so it's like good versus evil. Then you've got Rihanna bringing her gay-accepting, body-positive amazingness to the Super Bowl, which is a lot of rednecks watching. Yeah. It's going to be chaos. I can't wait.
And it takes place in Arizona.
Hey, Al, one last question.
What's up?
I hate that. Don't you think that it's interesting that we care about the Super Bowl commercials? For LGBTQ community, John's a big football fan. I played football. I actually follow football, especially college football.
I like the cheerleaders.
But most LGBT don't at all, and the commercials are the thing that they watch. But of course, the top thing they watch is the halftime show because it's the ultimate gay spectacular. But don't you think it's interesting that we follow the commercials so closely through the whole year? We don't really, but in the Super Bowl we go, okay.
Because those commercials are usually elevated, Al. They're just better, you know, $15 million better.
Yeah,
they're works of art.
Next, we are proud of our special partnership with Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church right here in Fort Lauderdale. Supporting that partnership, we're broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine Cathedral at the Happening Out television studios. We broadcast Sunshine Cathedral's Sunday International Service at 10:30 a.m. every week.
Matthew Darren, former American Idol contestant and singer-songwriter, and Sunshine Cathedral is my queer church.
Is it appropriate to say that Matthew Darren is sexy once we're referencing to a church? Well, that's today's news for the LGBTQ plus community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ plus evening news show.
If our community is important to you, then share this news with your friends and family. Are you, like so much of America, part of our very large television audience, watching this live LGBTQ plus news broadcast right now on Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, and Amazon Fire TV?
Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ plus digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support. If our community is to grow, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world.
This is the only place in the world that tells these types of LGBTQ plus stories in motion and sound. This is the passion of Hotspots magazine, Happening Out television network, and Queer News Tonight.
I'm your anchor, Al Ferguson, and on behalf of these LGBTQ plus reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including Fay What, John Hayden, Dr. Bobby Huen, and David Hopkins. We will see you daily at 8 p.m. And to everyone in our LGBTQ plus community, we wish you a good night. LGBTQ plus news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Laura are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out television network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth of the entire LGBTQ plus community.